My name is Sandra Saldivar, and I am the director of the Salinas Valley Art Gallery. We've been in business now for 47 years this year, and this last few years we've had some hard times because of the road closure, the pandemic, and now I see there's several businesses on our street that are closing. We're very concerned about this. I just don't know where to start. What are we going to do? I feel that on Saturdays, we're our busiest day ever. We're getting less people in our gallery now more than ever. I can't blame it on the farmers market, but I think it has to do with the road closure. We're just not getting people that are traveling down as far as us. They're going to the farmers market, they're leaving. During the day, if I'm coming across town, I get stuck at the Alisal light. As much as I hate to complain about it, because I love the downtown, I find myself turning off. I just don't have time to be waiting at the lights and waiting at the lights. We're getting customers calling and telling us the same thing. 47 years is a long time to be in one place downtown. We have 28 local artists. We're co-ops, so every day it's a different artist running the place. But when you're there all day long and not one person comes into our store, that's a problem. We get 2 people coming in, we're thrilled. This isn't the way it used to be. And lately, it has been like this a lot. Blame it on the economy, I don't care. But I hear, Bliss had a window broken out this recently. There's Somo Gallery closed. We have, who is it, the Golden Fish, they're gone now. Now I hear Patria's closing. And this is what brings people downtown in the afternoons for dinner, and then they wander into our store and they love it. We did a full remake.
Wes Wise, Salinas, Monterey County Homeless Union co-president. There was a sweep at the tracks today. I don't know if you knew, but there was no notice given since it's not a city. People were told an hour, and within 10 minutes, all their things were gone. They're home. Now they're truly homeless, not just landless, not just unrecognized, not just hopefully just go away. They're not going away. These are lifelong Salinas residents, and they need your help. They need your guidance and direction. Your partnership with Union Pacific needs to be operated differently, because I know there's coordination between this. You tell everyone, go to the train tracks, and then you sweep them off of there. It's a lot easier. There's no notice. Don't even have to recognize. You know that there's over 200 people in Chinatown, and you only got 2 porta potties. CDC says 10 people, 1 porta potty, 20 porta potties. Where are they? Are you really concerned about health and safety? Is that really your concern? Because now people don't have a roof over their head. They don't have clothes to put on. They don't have food to cook. They don't have utensils to cook with. They had a household. Everything that's in your household, people need that too. And we can't begrudge them of that and just take it all away. 5 crews with claws and dump trucks. There's people that are just too much in crisis to come right now and tell you what they're going through and what they have to experience now. We're creating criminals because now they're more desperate to have a tent, to have a sleeping bag, to have clothes. We need to do it different. We need to stop the sweeps. And this is a sweep. I don't care. You want to say, oh, it's not my problem. It's Union Pacific. Nonsense. You two are partners. You know what you're doing. You're pushing the dollar off to Union Pacific. Where's the SORT team? Well, how come people don't have immunity from sweeps? If they're signed up on cars in NHMIS, they need immunity from sweeps. You need to stop doing this, man. You're killing people.
I'm Eloise Shim, and my question is, I'd like to see more of district-wide analysis of the different kinds of crimes that are committed so that the public can get an idea about what kinds of crimes are committed in what districts, how many per year, comparing that to the previous years, just to kind of get an idea about, where's the concentration of, say, car thefts or domestic violence. I noticed domestic violence was there, and other kinds of things, so that, for me, that would just give me more feeling of safety in terms of, well, where can I go and where can I not go at night or...
Good evening, everyone. Luis Chago Juarez, resident, and something that I can't help but reflect upon is the efforts made by the Salinas Union High School District to invest in housing for their workforce. And it's something that I can't help but think, this is why. Maybe it's because we can't afford to live here in Salinas, and that seems one of those pieces that you need to put some attention around. That and our neighborhoods have a memory, have a strong memory of what has happened within the last 10 years, since 2014. There's still a lot of work to be done. And so when being recognized by institutions or other entities outside of the community, that's one thing, but the development and a healthier relationship, community-based upon the community, that definitely, that word community probably means a lot of different things to folks here just in this room. So it really definitely needs to be considered when talking about this idea of retainment and recruitment. Thank you.
I've got an RV taken away from me. My Acura that I had taken away from me, and just Friday, they took another one from me. And I tell them, hey, I'm on a budget. I get Social Security, and I got to pay bills that I already have first before I could, start, registering stuff and things like that. I said, look, I'm not bothering nobody. I'm here in the corner. I pick up, even though the trash isn't mine, when I leave, I pick it all up because I don't want it to reflect on me that I made that mess, And they say they want to help us, get a housing, but I just got a voucher, and now I can't even go put in applications because they took my car. You know what I mean? And so I think you guys should, make something to help the homeless more than you guys are already doing, and not take our vehicles, that we live in, because I live in there. Now I don't know where I'm going to sleep tonight, I don't got no blankets, no nothing, because I was asleep when they were coming. I didn't hear them, and they took everything. All I got in my backpack right there with whatever I had. That's it, And, well, that's all I wanted to say, that we need more help for the homelessness. If you guys say that you guys want to get rid of the homelessness, yeah, I don't want to be homeless. Nobody wants to be homeless.
Sir, this item is on police staffing and call prioritization. So if you could keep your comments on topic, I would appreciate it.
Well, that's all I have to say.
Mayor,
Thank you.
Mayor, I apologize, but, not everybody knows procedures and maybe what time he should attend. So I'd ask that you let him finish your comments. And I'd also ask that we have staff to reach out with him and see what services we could provide him for tonight. So
Happy to direct you. I think we have Megan Hunter in the audience who can assist with giving you some resources. Welcome.
I just want to say, this is priority, please, priority. I don't see how priority for me, for them coming and sweeping me and having me leave and taking all my stuff, I don't see how that's priority, you know what I mean? I'm not bothering anybody, you know what I mean? I'm just trying to live and wait for my housing and do what I got to do. And so by them doing that, it's a setback for me. So I got to start all over again, which another tent and clothes and everything else. And so, really think they should find a better way to prioritize their time, than messing with the homeless. So.
My name is Elizabeth Roselli, and I'm a resident of Salinas. I'm currently homeless right now. The police, I understand that the crime in Salinas has gone up and down, and it's from our community, because I went to a community barbecue at the town and village a couple of years back. The Salinas police were there, the sheriff, not the sheriff, the fire engine. They were making kites with our kids. of course, as residents that come from, kind of like, I mean, this is a beautiful, area where we're at, but it's just, I guess, how could you say, we need to be more, like, doing things together as a whole, like, things people like to do. We should do it, like, at the sports center, like, announce it to, like, everybody, not just, like, kids, the whole community, It shouldn't matter what race or if you have money or not, We should just come together as one and see. And maybe if we bring all our ideas together, I'm pretty sure if we all put our, eggs in a basket, we'll become something good. I mean, you know what I mean? Like they say, all we have to do is whatever you like, coloring or knitting or painting, gardening. Everyone likes that at free time. We understand the cops can't get there on time. They're probably stressed out, they haven't slept, and they have to deal with the public. And then at that, when they approach us, of course, we're already nervous, and they're like working a hard job trying to get there and trying to make sure they're okay, everyone else is okay. And, it's sad and it's hard on us, and it's just as hard as on them when they're trying to save us from saving the public, when the public is so scared that they don't even want to go out and, I guess spend time with, the people that we're so scared of.
Thank you, ma'am. Your 2 minutes are up.
Wes White, Salinas County Homeless Union co-president. On this list here, this call response thing, I think you try to split out the trespassing between like trespassers and then just people living, trespassing, simple trespass as opposed to active trespass. The simple living trespass should be a no-call response. The parking AV traffic complaints seems like you've just passed it off to the parking enforcement, and that needs to be limited severely. If people are living in their vehicle, they should not be ticketed, they should not be towed. There was a guy that was sleeping in his car, and just as soon as he opened the door, the cops grabbed him and tossed him on the ground. He's like, I'm not on parole anymore, I'm not in jail, like how can they just treat me like that? We're dealing with a lot of people who are very vulnerable, and our police officers should not be encouraging and exacerbating those situations. And so those should be no-call response. These folks came, they all got swept out today, so just for them to come at 4 o'clock, promptly at 4 o'clock, for you to almost glaze and dismiss them, they couldn't do that. So they're talking now, and it is about police, it's about the priority, and that they should not be a priority. For a police call, just simple trespass is not a priority. We need to allow immunity from sweeps. You need to be working with social workers and service providers and letting them go in and clean up the trash. We have Smith and Enright, we pay them millions of dollars. They could pick up the trash and leave the property, leave the structures. And if you don't want them there, then open up another place where they can be. I'm gonna have to give these folks tents tonight, and we will take care of them, apparently because the city was inept, didn't even know. What kind of communication is this? You all supposed to be working together? You know you are. You're driving people to the tracks so then the UP can knock them out. You drive people to Bridge and Market so you can knock them out. You need to redirect your whole sense of being. Are you trying to help people or are you trying to kill them?
Thank you.
Hello,
Hi,
my name is
welcome.
Joseph Hernandez, and I've been a lifelong resident of Salinas. I just came today, and they're saying, community policing. And in my opinion, the community policing could be a lot more effective and efficient. If there was some way for the community to voice their opinion and not feel any type of fear or prejudice or anything by the police, because maybe the way we look or where they might find us at or anything, just off of my own personal experiences, the community policing has been a little bit, I want to say, I don't know, it could be a lot more effective if the people in the community felt safe enough to talk to those community leaders or those in leadership positions like all of you guys here, you know, but some people don't have that. They don't feel comfortable to even walk in here because, I don't know, maybe the stigma or whatever, you know, about just growing up in Salinas. That's how I'm gonna put it. But they don't feel comfortable walking in here and giving their opinion to you guys because they're afraid because of their own experiences, you know, that have gone on and maybe have had to do with the police. You know what I mean? And for me personally, I'm gonna talk about myself personally. It's caused a lot of psychological, you know, stress and things like that. And I don't know. I feel like the community and the police, you know, they could be a lot more effective, and it probably would cut a lot of the cost if they just made the community feel, and I'm talking about everybody in the community. It doesn't matter if they're homeless or if they got homes, if they're from
Thank you,
this.
sir. Your 2 minutes are up.
My name is Carlos. About police staffing, where I'm at right now is right here in Chinatown area, and I listen and I'm obedient to what the officers say, and they tell me to go over here, you know, like to the tracks area, or they say to go here on Bridge or on Lake Street. I do abide by what they say, and I go there, and then after, you know, without a moment's notice, they tell us, hey, get your stuff and go. And I was like, well, where do we go? Where do I go to address, you know, for housing? You know what I mean? Getting place, you know, I want to go to not be homeless, and you know, to be working also. And it's hard for me to, you know, I don't have anything to go to right now. I was content with what I had, and now that I don't have it anymore, it being bulldozed off the tracks, I don't have anything right now. So again, I'm homeless times 2. You know what I mean? And but you know what I mean, I bounce back and stuff. But I mean, I don't even know where I'm going to go or anything like that. But I just ask for your help. You know, that's all I got to say.
The gentleman who just spoke, I wanted to ask a clarifying question. He mentioned that the police department asked him to move, you know, to the train tracks, and so I just want to understand if that's what happened, because if our police department gave indications you should move to this location, and then there was a sweep, which was my understanding that, like I said, I'm not sure about the details, but if it wasn't notified by the train company, so can we get clarification on that?
Would you like him to go first?
Yeah, I'd like to ask him if he was told by the police department to move to the train tracks, or you mentioned something like that, I believe.
I was told by a police officer out there, I don't know who it was, but every time I listen, you know, and I take my stuff, and it's been getting, you know, through the times, it's just being real hard. You know, I'm 53 years old, and it just gets really hard to do. And when I do it, like this time, they say, you know, you got to go. You know, you got to go. What do you mean? This wasn't supposed to happen like today or you know, and they just.
But I'm sorry, just a quick question. So did the police ask you to move to the train tracks? That's my question.
Yes, and from the street to the tracks. And when I did, like a week later, 2 weeks later, they took everything. You know, and I have nothing now.
Well,
you know?
I'm sorry that happened to you. Thank you.
For point of
Cesar Lara, I'm the Policy and Programs Director at MILPA, and if I read the report correctly, funded and injured officers and everything, the total adds up to 157. That does not include the frozen positions. And so in an ideal world, I know you can never get to 157. You're always going to have some injuries or some people in academy or training or light duty, but I want to remind the council that's what you need to be focusing on. Would love to hear similar reports from other departments. With my other work in labor, I have talked to different departments across the Central Coast, and housing has been a major concern, not just for city folk, and I say, city employees, but also in school districts and others. Some people have been proactive on it, and I would love to foster a conversation across multiple jurisdictions to really look at how can we find workforce housing or employee housing for city workers, because Staffing issues are not unique to the police department. From what I'm hearing, it's just hard to hire people. And the big elephant in the room for most people is the cost of housing in our area. With 160,000 residents, and understanding that, depending on the year, between 45 and 43.5% of the city budget goes to police, and they can't even spend the money that they have because of the unfilled positions. And I hear departments across the country are having this issue, and I think it predates the George Floyd, but want to just thank the police chief, and it clearly shows that even with the budget we do give him, he's not being able to spend all of it. So I hope the council takes that into consideration when they budget, looking at holistically the whole city budget, because I really want to make a case for the different departments, including park, recreation department, because they are also underfunded and understaffed. And so much the social determinants of health are associated with that. And I can go further. I don't have a timer in front of me, but wanted to really commend the city, but also want to continue looking into other innovative programs like what we've talked before about the CAHOOTS or the STAR program model in Colorado.
Gracias. Hola, mi nombre es Nidia Soto, soy residente del Distrito 2. Y buenas tardes a los concejales y a la alcaldesa. Gracias por la presentación al sheriff Feliz. Todos los residentes de Salinas queremos vivir en vecindarios seguros y comunidades prósperas. Está claro que debemos trabajar juntos para que esto suceda. Creo que la comunidad y el concilio de la ciudad apoyen al Departamento de Policía de Salinas y deben que los desafíos de reclutamiento no son solo un problema local, sino a nivel nacional. Para abordar esto, podemos crear nuevos puestos de seguridad pública enfocados en las áreas de servicio afectadas. Realmente necesitamos que los policías armados vengan a tomar declaraciones por daños a la propiedad. Es una pregunta. O para ayudar cuando hay un incidente de tráfico menor, es otra pregunta. En Berkeley, Filadelfia y Denver se han creado puestos alternativos. ¿Qué tal si lo intentamos aquí? Es otra pregunta. Creo que hay soluciones creativas para este problema y espero que podamos trabajar colectivamente para abordarlas. Todo este tema pone en duda el panel de los residentes en la contratación de los oficiales. ¿Qué tan involucrada está la comunidad en la contratación de los oficiales que juran protegernos? Es otra pregunta.
Good afternoon. My name is Nidia Soto, and I'm from District 7. District 2. And we're all here, and I think we all support the police. We all support the work that they're doing. We understand the fact that they're understaffed. And I'm asking, like, for example, when there is a complaint or a report about some type of damage or harm or property damage, is it necessary for them to come personally and check with us and get the report? Or for example, when there is a accident, is it necessary for them to come personally and ask about, and do the report? Another thing that I also see that, for example, in Berkeley and other places, they have some alternative solutions regarding the short staff of police. And also, we have to find alternative solutions to the short staff. I understand that that's hard, that this is a problem that everybody is going through, that it's hard to hire people. But I also ask, doesn't the community have to be involved in this process of hiring? How can the community help?
Thank you for the presentation, Chief, and thank you to all the members of the public, both here in person and on Zoom, for your comments. I want to take a moment to highlight that this is a nationwide problem because this is a national systemic issue. And I think that we're in a position to where it's become very evident that by relying almost entirely on police departments all across this country to do basically solving every single societal ill, it has resulted in not only burnout, not only difficulty in recruiting, but also it's resulted in some very serious social justice issues, and in some instances, some very serious abuses of power. And once again, I'm talking about a systemic issue. And I think all those things, if we're going to have a frank conversation with one another to discuss how we can move forward, I think all of those things are contributing to the lack of people going into this particular workforce. As the chief mentioned, what does happen in other places has an effect here, and we also have a history here in Salinas of some similar issues happening, which why the Justice Department came in. So this is a national issue, but we do have to recognize some of those challenges that have happened here at the local level. But I think that we have identified the problem, and your report was a research-based way to identify the problem. I think we have an opportunity before us to create a solution that is centered on community-based problem solving. And I think that the way we can do that is by evolving as a police department to recognize that we need to find strategic ways, innovative ways to take things off of the police officers' plates. Because ideally, I think every police officer that goes into this line of work is doing it because they want to be addressing serious crimes, want to be solving homicides. That's why they go into the line of work. You know, I don't think a police officer goes to the academy and so forth because they want to be addressing smaller issues that aren't necessarily what they're trained to do, right? Or even in mental health instances. I don't think that's why they went into that work, and I don't think that it's appropriate to be piling all that up on that one position. So I think if we're going to try and address prioritization of calls and address the staffing issue, it comes down to how much are we putting on the plates of those individual employees. Because while one job should be enough, one job for one person should be enough, not putting 5 jobs into one role and expecting that person to do the job. And so I think that an innovative way to address it is through hiring more community service officers, unarmed civilian positions, but providing some training so that it's more of a community resource in that role. Being able to connect community members to vital resources in our community and being able to be a visible presence in the community so that people can feel more safe. Because what I see oftentimes as a council member that I'm getting calls for is someone is concerned about students ditching school, and it's 12 o'clock, and they're like, why are a bunch of high schoolers walking around this area, littering all over the place, but they're calling 911. And so a police officer now has that on their call list, right? Whereas in reality, a CSO could just make a drive through the area unarmed, and it's going to get around, and it's not going to be as easy to ditch. And these smaller things that are not violent are opportunities for CSOs to get involved and perhaps get off and say, hey, this youth program that's going to be happening after school, this and that, and the gun's not there, that element isn't there, and it's more of a community. The way I want to see it is a public safety ambassador program that is aimed at having those community relationships. So I think CSOs are a good way of addressing non-violent crime, but also a good way of addressing some situations that require essentially a report to be taken, but no immediate action that can be had. So one thing that I remember is I had a constituent who called me very upset at 3 a.m, and they were angry because someone was what appeared to be drunk driving and smashed the back of their car and drove off. And that person, obviously did not feel safe to go follow this person, but their car was in a real mess and they wanted to file a police report. So they called the police department, but because of the staffing issues, no police officer was able to go out there and take that report. And the person was really upset because here my car had been crashed, I'm trying to make a report, I can't get anyone to come to my home, it's been multiple days, nobody's come. And in those types of situations, it doesn't require someone in uniform to go because the situation is not, it's not an active situation, right? It's not a crime in progress. In that instance, I think we could have a CSO go and take those calls. And I think that would help with the prioritization of calls, and perhaps you could even code the calls, and anything that's not inactive, not happening, send it to CSOs. Obviously. Because the reality is we're presented with an opportunity where we could change our police department, or we can attempt to double down and try to really stubbornly do the same things that are statistically proving are not working for us in terms of retention and recruitment. The city council last year made a real big investment for the first time in a while in the LSL Vibrancy Plan. We had a first-time investment that I could remember in the community wellness grant program that we created. And so we need to, yes, focus on community service officers to address those nonviolent calls, but we need to have the same commitment and urgency to addressing the issues of prevention, intervention, making record investments, recognizing that we could do this simultaneously. And so I think that creating a holistic approach to public safety is one that recognizes we need to prevent crimes before they happen through prevention programs. We need to work with young people when they're going down the path of perhaps gang activity through intervention programs and give them that second chance, recognizing public safety has its role, but also re-entry services, because oftentimes there is a high recidivism rate that is not being addressed. So I think CSOs are a solution, prevention and intervention programs are a solution, and working on the re-entry programs are all going to help to reduce the workload of police officers and help with this issue of calls being unanswered. And so that is...
Some of the unhoused, as we heard a couple of folks here, they're falling through the process. I mean, they're trying to do something right for their lives. But I think sometimes we think, and I'm saying unhoused, but I think when we hear the word homeless, we think drug addiction, we think the worst sometimes. We're already programmed like that. But I think some people are out there needing help, looking for solutions, but they're told to go to this department, then to that one, and they get lost after. Look at the gentleman that just said, I have a voucher, but I need help. And along the lines of supporting the police in prevention, I would like to propose, because like I was saying a few years back, in Chinatown, there was a group of individuals out there, unhoused individuals, that came with great solutions, great ideas. We took notes, we went, and it just went up on the shelf. We really didn't get anywhere with it. I would like to be part of that. You know, we're going into these community meetings for budgets. I would like to propose a meeting in Chinatown and listen to the people that really are in need of desperate help. And I want to be part of that. So
I'll be willing to co-sponsor or buddy or recommend.
Bring some sandwiches. So, thank you. So, because you know what, a lot of times we don't listen from these folks, and I think they can bring something to the table when they could help us with the solutions as well. And I'm going to ask you, Mr. Kerrigan, along supporting the police department, we do, because at that time, the only people that attended that meeting to listen was city staff, but I think we need somebody from mental health. You know the team, housing authority, people that know about the housing situation, the vouchers. And I don't want to make your life more difficult, but I'm willing to do a lot of the footwork on that to bring it together.
There are conversations where we had in the past about a public safety master plan that we've said lots of times, and it just seems like I mean, how many times have we talked about that? And we haven't made any strides to even touch the topic. And lastly, I would say that if we did do this, it would be able to identify that last budget, we talked about bringing an ad hoc committee with the county and the city to be able to talk about the mobile crisis unit, and that hasn't happened either. And I think it's also, we gave direction to be able to allocate $250,000 and gave direction for that to come out of cannabis funds. And to be able to start getting with crisis intervention teams and consultants and what have you, to be able to get something like this created for the city of Salinas. So now we're talking about challenging times with our PD and not going to calls. I would say that we're coming up to another budget this year, and if we would have gotten the ball rolling on this sooner, then maybe we'd have some support for our PD and our fire department. So I
do think that there is a viability for having CSOs for call responses, but I ran for city council in 2010 because my car was stolen at 5 a.m. and I made a 911 call, and I didn't get a cop at my door until almost 2 p.m. I had to take the day off, and my car was gone. And that was in 2010, right? And so with Measure G coming forward with such a strong presence in public safety, with the promise to our residents with that money that we would hire more officers, and we have fewer officers now than we did 10 years ago, I think we need to really take a look at the health and safety of our city and do our best to ensure that we are providing those baseline services. Absolutely the non-emergency calls, but also the emergency calls too.